DCP. Now, dynamic compression plate basically comes in three sizes. This is the largest one. It's called broad DCP. Okay. This is the intermediate one. It's called a narrow DCP. And this is the smallest one. It's called the small DCP. Okay. Small DCP normally we use for small bones like your forearm bones, radius ulna. Okay. Narrow DCP we use for larger bones like tibia can use a narrow DCP. Humerus you can use a narrow DCP. Your broad DCP is a large bones, femur, or some people their tibia is large. You can use broad DCP for their tibia. So now I need a paper. Okay. Okay, so this is a small bone. For example, it's a radius, probably a mid-shaft radius with a simple fracture. We've already reduced it anatomically, and then another thing about DCP is that it only can fix simple fractures. Okay, simple fractures, whereby you can achieve anatomical reduction because your aim. Once you put a DCP, your aim is to achieve primary union, primary healing or absolute stability. Primary healing or absolute stability means healing of bone without callus formation. Okay, it means we don't expect to see callus, we just expect it to heal directly through. Okay, so only can be used in simple fracture and which can be anatomically reduced. Alright, now what is the difference between broad DCP and narrow DCP and small DCP? As you can see, to differentiate broad DCP from the rest, the holes are in a stepwise manner, like a footstep manner. Okay, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Footstep, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Okay, so this when you look at it, you'll know it's a broad DCP, right? Narrow DCP, everything is straight in a line. So a small DCP, right? And then DCP also can be divided into a normal DCP and LC DCP.
LC.
Low contact. LC, not LC.
Grace DCP.
No. LC DCP. Okay.
Low contact.
Low
No
contact
contact.
DCP. So, can anyone tell me why did they invent the low contact DCP?
For partial healing. For
Same thing only, you're going to fix the bone, you're going to put the DCP on top, this one, so you're going to put on top. So,
Blood supply.
yes, because your blood supply of the bone comes from the periosteum. So, can you see the underpart of this normal DCP and the underpart of this DCP? This underpart of this LC DCP, there's minimal contact with the cortex surface to avoid further compromise to the periosteum on the bone. So therefore avoiding, what do you call this? Therefore reducing chances of blood compromise at the fractured bone. Okay? Understand? This is a normal DCP. You see, it's full contact. This one only this part is contact. Okay?
contact.
Yeah. But we will use normal DCP only. Right? Now, when you look at the holes, okay, look at the holes properly. You can see one part is like, one side is straight and then the other side is like convex. Okay, this is the hole, right? So another part will be like this. Okay, this one is like that, and one more side will be like this. Okay, it's curved like that. So, see, this side is curved out. Okay, this one is so you can appreciate. See from on top, see this part is like curved, this part is straight. Okay, one part. One side is curved, one side is straight. So the straight part is a neutral hole, the curved part is a compression hole. Okay, so screws can be placed in a neutral manner or an eccentric manner. Eccentric manner is through the compression holes. So the reason why you want to put the screws in an eccentric hole is because you want to achieve compression at the fracture site. Now you've already reduced the fracture anatomically. Okay. Okay, this is a very good reduction. So you place your plate ready, and then you put the first screw here. Okay. Then the next screw, you want to put it here. The screws we have to start adjacent to the fracture site first. Screw placement. Once the plate is already on top, has to start adjacent to the fracture site first, and then only go beyond that. Okay, so once you place one screw already, the other screw you want to put it in a. This is in a neutral hole. This one is in a compression hole. Okay, so once you put it in a compression hole, the plate, because of the convexity here, the convexity here, the screw will push the plate towards the fracture site. Therefore, compression the fracture site and promoting absolute stability, the primary meaning of the bone. Understand? Huh? Any questions so far? Okay. So this compression screw, once you already put on one side, you can put one more on the other side of this hole. Okay, just to compress for this direction, so there's more compression at the fracture site. So this one, once you're drilled ready, you put the screw halfway, then you have to release the screw halfway, then you put the screw through, then only you put back the screw. Okay, because this screw here will hinder the compression effect from this screw which is placed eccentrically. Understood?
Okay.
Okay, so compression can be done from one side or both sides also. That is DCP, dynamic compression plate. Okay. Now, any questions so far for DCP?
So boss, usually 3 screws is enough.
Okay, very good question. Depends on the type of bone. If it's a small bone, you're using a small DCP or narrow DCP. Minimum of 6 cortices has to be purchased on each side, meaning 3 screws at least for small bone. Whereas for larger bone, a minimum of 7 cortices has to be purchased. I don't know why they say 7, but normally it's 8 because we have to go for it too. So minimum of 7 cortices has to be placed, held by screw on each side of the fracture. So that means it's equivalent to 4 screws per side. Alright? Understand? Any other question? Okay. Now, that is DCP. Now coming to locking plate. Locking plate is a specialized plate designed for severely comminuted fractures and fractures involving articular surface. Why fracture involving articular surface? Can anyone tell me? Because fracture of the articular surface, you have to achieve anatomical reduction to avoid secondary OA as a complication once the fracture is healed. Okay, so that's why you have to have anatomical reduction. In order to achieve that, you need a locking plate. Okay, so locking plate, basically how it acts is it's the same principle as it's also known as the internal external fixator. So it's the same principle as X fix. You're just holding the bones together, but it's placed inside, acts as a plate. Okay. So locking plate basically has the same two screw holes as DCP has, but the eccentric hole is threaded. So that means you can compress the screw at the same time you can put a locking head screw. You won't find threads here on the DCP, but you'll find threads here in the LCP locking plate. Okay, inside. Right. So the thread area is for compression as well as placement of the locking head screw. Now, this is a locking head screw, whereby you can see the screw head has threads also. Okay. And then some locking plates are contoured to follow the bone shape. For example, this one is contoured to follow the distal end radius. And then there's one for clavicle also, as well as distal proximal tibia and also distal tibia. Okay. So what are these holes on the locking plate? Extra holes, small holes here that you see. What are that for? I first mentioned earlier, locking plate is used for comminuted fractures and also intra-articular fractures. So this one you're using for distal. Yes. You have to use K wires to splint the fractures before you place the screw. Okay, that is the function of these small holes. Okay. Any questions on locking plate? No? Okay. Now coming to the screw. How many types of screw do we have? There's actually many types. The major one is your cortical screw and your cancellous screw. Okay? Then you have your locking head screw. You have a half-threaded cannulated screw. Okay? That means you can use a guide wire first to hold the fracture and then put the screw inside. And then you fix it with a cannulated screwdriver. Then you take out your. Okay? And this half-threaded. Okay? So you see the main ones lah. Your cortical screw, your cancellous screw. This inside. Okay. Which one is cortical and which one is cancellous? Okay, this is cortical, this is cancellous. So, in the anatomy of the screw, you have the screw head, screw shaft, screw tip, screw thread. Each one of this is called thread. The distance between each thread is called a pitch. P-I-T-C-H, pitch. Okay? So the reason why you have to know this, and then there's another one called, this is a core diameter. Core diameter of the screw is just inside the shaft. And then this is your external diameter of the screw. Okay? So the distance between thread to thread is called the pitch. Okay? So the reason why, can anyone tell me the reason why your cancellous screw has a bigger pitch compared to your cortical screw? Because your cancellous bone is soft, Okay, it's less porous. It's more porous compared to your cortical bone, which is more dense. Okay, therefore, by increasing the pitch, you increase your pull-out strength. That means the strength of which the needed for the screw to come off. Okay, so this one is increasing your pull-out strength. That means it's difficult for it to come out in a less porous bone. Cortical bone is very more dense, so that's why you don't need bigger pitch to hold it. Bigger pitch is an overkill for cortical bone. Okay, so you need this for cancellous bone. Okay, so that's about the screw anatomy that you have to know. Any questions so far? Ask me. Any questions?
Leg screw.
Leg screw, very good. Leg screw is not a type of screw, it's a principle. Okay? Okay. For example, there's a butterfly fragment from the bone. So leg screw principle is a screw placement. So this is the fracture line, right? So the fracture line is like this. So you have to place the screw perpendicular 90 degrees to the fracture line. So this is the fracture line. You have to place the screw in this direction, and the screw has to be placed from the smaller bone to the larger bone. Okay, smaller bone to the larger bone perpendicularly at the fracture side. Okay, how do you do it? Basically, there's two holes that you need to drill, which is the gliding hole at the near cortex and the pilot hole at the far cortex. So first you drill the gliding hole perpendicular to the fracture side. The gliding hole has to be the same diameter as the screw that you're going to use. Okay? So you drill this. Once you pass the cortex already, you stop. Stop, and then you have to drill the pilot hole next. Take out, change the drill bit. Because this time you have to use a smaller drill bit, which is equivalent to your core diameter of your screw. Just now I mentioned outer diameter of the screw and core diameter. Okay, so it has to be smaller. Smaller. So this is your pilot hole. Okay, then you're going to place your screw. After you drill, you're going to use a tap. Tap is a device which we use to make thread on the bone. So you're going to use a tab which is of this size for this hole. Okay, which is of the gliding hole size for the pilot hole. Understand? Okay, so you tap this area. So once this area is tapped ready, then you place the screw. So when the screw is being placed initially, as you are driving the screw in, these two fragments will distract. Okay, but as the screw engages at the thread here, then it will compress. It will compress more and more, because this part it will just glide down. This part, once it catches the threads here, it will create a force up, compressing. So that is leg screw principle. Understand? Understand or not? Don't understand means I can explain again. Okay.
How deep we should go the screw?
You have to measure. Once you reduce the D, okay, this one is not reduced. Once you reduce the D, Okay, you get anatomical reduction. Then once you drill your gliding hole and your pilot hole, you put a measure inside and measure what is the distance.
Usually the
You have a
tip-
depth gauge. Your
tip-
depth gauge is to measure what is the depth of your hole which is drilled to place the screw. Then you choose your screw according to the length of the depth gauge. You all didn't know so much of things orthopedic. Okay. These are the basic things which I think you all should know. Lah. I mean, you don't need to know, but it's good to know knowledge. Okay. There's another type of plate, which is a neutralizing plate, which I forgot to mention also. This plate. What plate is this? Yeah. What is the benefits of this plate? You can see this in between the holes. There's areas here which you can shape and bend with a plate bender. Okay, according to the contour of the bone. When you open a recon plate, there'll be a what do you call this? A test also. Test which is not made out of stainless steel, but it's made out of plastic. Follows the shape of the recon plate, same size. You place it on the bone first to see how's the bone go, and then you use that as an actuant to make this into that shape, so you can place it on the bone. Okay. Mostly we use for bones like irregular bony architectures like pelvis, clavicle, right? So this comes under neutralizing plate. Because it doesn't have any function. The locking plate I mentioned, you don't have the locking edge screw, the eccentric hole, compression screw, okay? And your DCP has the eccentric hole for the compression screw. Okay? Right. Now, finish with plates, we come to nails. Can anyone tell me what is this? It's a bit bent here, lah. It's supposed to be straight. This is an intramedullary interlocking nail of the femur. ILN femur. This is ILN femur. Okay? So, what is the difference between ILN femur and ILN tibia? This is ILN tibia. The difference is at the proximal end, it's curved. It comes to follow the contour of the bone when we are inserting it. We are inserting it at the tibial tuberosity from down. So, once it's intramedullary, the entry point is on the anterior side. This one, the entry point is from the superior part. Your piriformis fossa or your greater top. Your tibia is on the anterior part, the tibial tuberosity. So that's why the curve there to accommodate for that. Okay? Now, here there's proximal holes to place the interlocking screws. Proximal screws, distal screws. Okay? But this is a Tagan nail. Yeah, this is Tagan nail. Nowadays we are using Synthes. Synthes has three holes here. One is for static, two static and one dynamic. Okay. What you do is when you want to dynamize the fracture site, it's a thing called dynamization. It happens if the patient has already being operated for ILN, and we expect to see some callus formation in 3 weeks. But there's still no callus formation. And then we give another TCA, and we see back, it's still very minimal callus. So the fixation is very rigid, so there's no movement at the fracture site. So what we do is, we take out the static screw, and we only lift the dynamic screw, not this one. is for the synthase one. So we only look at the dynamic screw, so there's some motion at the fracture side. So that will promote the healing. Okay. This one all the only plate we expect primary healing is from DCP and also locking plate. Okay. Your neutralizing plate we don't expect primary healing. Okay, secondary healing because it's just meant to hold the bones only. Okay, so there will be callus formation. This one all we expect secondary healing. Okay, because it's splinting the bone from inside. Okay, so ILN femur, ILN tibia. What is this? Before the invention of ILN, there's such thing called as a K-nail or puncture nail. Okay, K-nail is used to fix the femur also, the same way how ILN is used to fix the femur, but it has no interlocking screws. You see, so if there's no interlocking screws, you will have rotational instability. Understood? Okay, and this implant can only be used if the fracture is at the isthmus of the femur. Isthmus meaning the narrowest part of the medulla. Okay, narrowest part. Usually it's at the mid shaft. Okay. Isthmus is normally here now. Sorry. Okay. It's the narrowest part of the medulla. That's the mid shaft, the shaft of the femur. Okay. So if the fracture is there, then we can open up. It's not percutaneously, but you have to open the fracture side and then retrograde it. You have to knock it in here first, then you have to reduce the femur, and then you knock it down. So it sits in the center, but it's rotationally unstable because it can rotate inside. Okay. Whereas for ILN, it's more rotationally stable because of the presence of the interlocking screw. Okay, which is placed proximally and distally.
The interlocking screws for that, is it specialized for that?
You are using a normal cortical screw.
Cortical
Cortical screw. Okay. So, what is this? Huh? Dynamic hip screw, DHS. We use it for what kind of fractures? Intertrochanteric fractures. Okay. Or some basal neck of fractures can be used also. Okay. So, what is the constituent of it? It has a plate. It has a barrel. So this is known as a plate barrel. Okay, plate barrel with a CCD of 135 degrees. 135 degrees. Okay, that's your angle of the neck of femur. 135 degrees. So it follows that. And this is a leg screw. LAG. Don't confuse with the square screw principle. This is called a leg screw. Okay, femoral leg screw. So, yeah, and then these are all just normal screw holes. You can put a conventional cortical screw. Okay. So how does it act? Because of the fracture. For example, this is the fracture. Okay, this is the IT fracture. Okay, so we place a leg screw here. barrel we have to knock it in, and then the plate is here. Okay. So this will create a sliding mechanism at the fracture site to promote healing. So every time the patient partially bears weight, when the body weight goes down, your what do you call this? The sliding mechanism occurs at the fracture site, and it will promote healing, control collapse mechanism. We call it. Okay, that's how it works. It's the same thing also for your. This is called DCS, dynamic condylar screw. DCS is used for which part of the bone? Of which bone? Distal and femur. Okay. So this one is also will provide a certain degree of control collapse at the fracture site for condylar fractures of the femur. Okay. What is this? We have two in the one. Part of the external fixator. It's called a shunt spin or shunt screw. Okay, shunt screw is part of the frame of your external fixator. Okay, whereby it's placed directly to the bone, drilled to the bone. Okay, and then it's held by the rods. Okay, in different planes. Alright, for external fixator. What is this? Is it a permanent fixation or a temporary fixation? Can be used as board. Okay? Permanent is like how we saw a patient with the distal phalanx fracture, you fix, and then you allow the bone to heal in 3 weeks. You can see callus already, you take it out. Temporary is, for example, when you want to hold a fracture site. For example, distal end radius is very comminuted, intra-articular is all gone. So you reduce back nicely, you hold it with the K wire, and then you place the screw, and then you take up the K wire. So it's a temporary fixation. Okay. Okay, another thing you all have to know is TBW of the patella. Okay, for example, this is the patella. Okay, it's fractured in the transverse fracture. Okay, simple transverse fracture. So we drill 2 K wires, one from the top here to down, another K wire from here to here, and then outside of the K wire we put a clutch wire with a figure of 8 shape. Okay, like this. So now patella is a kind of bone which is attached to a lot of ligaments and tendons, especially the 2 main tendons will be a quadriceps and a patella. Okay, and this, once a fracture is there, it will cause pulling of these tendons. So pulling is called a distraction, also known as the tensile force. Okay, destructive force. So once you place the clutch wire, and you have to tighten it until this part is compressed. Okay. So how does TBW work? Once the op is already done, the next day onwards, the patient is already encouraged to start walking, because that's how the bone will heal. Okay. So once the patient starts walking, this tensile force which is generated by these tendons to the bone will be converted into compressive force at the fracture site. Okay, so when this distraction happens, this construct here will cause compression at the fracture site. It will bring the fracture site closer. So therefore, when the patient starts walking, the healing process will occur. Alright? Next question.
Must be balance between compression force and distraction force.
It will follow how much of tensile force is exerted onto the patella, that much of compression force will be equally exerted onto the fracture side. Okay. Any questions? This one tak payah tahu lah. This one you just have to know that it's. What is this? Huh? Apa?
Heat prosthesis.
Heat prosthesis. Okay. This is a unipolar. This is a Austin Moore. Austin Moore, the difference between the unipolar and the Austin Moore has perforations at the stem to allow bony ingrowth. Because we won't use bone cement for Austin Moore. Whereas for unipolar or bipolar, we have to use bone cement. Understand? Okay? So you don't have to know much. Okay. That's about it. Any question?
How comes of plate is there like a time where there is a need for movement?
What kind of plate you ask?
Let's say utilizing this is now a bridging plate.
Okay, depends. If let's say bridging plate is used for fracture healing, you can leave it there unless if it's disturbing your movements lah. For example, your buttress plate of the distal radius, sometimes it can affect the movements and everything. So after the fracture is healed, we normally take it off after 1 year. Normally any plate that you place has to remain there at least about 1 year before you can remove it, provided the fracture is healed lah. Okay, united. Alright. Whereas for your DCP and all this is optional whether you want to remove check with the patient.
That means leaving it there will not be
Not there. Unless if let's say you have cases like soft tissue injury. For example, like cases of AC joint disruption. So this is your clavicle. This is your acromion process. So there's disruption here. So normally the disruption is caused by the tear of your coracoclavicular ligament, CC ligament. Okay. So if your CC ligament is torn, every time you carry up your hand, you have a lot of pain there at the AC joint. So you want a soft tissue healing to occur. So you put a recon plate bridging from the clavicle to the acromion. So you just bridge the clavicle and acromion for soft tissue healing of the AC joint. So that means the capsule and the CC ligaments and everything to heal. And that one you can leave it for at least 6 weeks before you remove it. Soft tissue healing at least 6 weeks. Okay?
I just want to ask, for this kind of things, right? Which one needs to go through the second cortical layer and which one?
Oh, you mean the screw, is it? The screw.
No, like all is it needs to go through the second
Normally we
cortical
put all.
all
All to the second. Yeah. So it's more stable. We don't leave it at one cortex. Unless if it's like have you all seen a Syndas screw? Syndesmotic screw. Syndesmotic screw you can just perforate 3 cortices, and the far cortex of the tibia you don't need to perforate that lah. Because the principle is you need at least 3 cortices to hold it because it's very long. Okay.
What's this again?
K-nail, puncture nail. Puncture nail, Kirschner wire.
Gosh.
Kirschner. Puncture, knee puncture. Okay.